enjoying the great outdoors. Welcome to Nats Detasseling Inc., where they're not afraid to sweat. This summer, join the Nats team for an unforgettable experience. Forge friendships, learn responsibility, and earn money. Visit notafraidtosweat.com now. Nats Detasseling, where hard work meets good times. Load up on meat and more this winter at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese at 84th and Havelock. This week's special through February 6th is spend $50 and get a 14-ounce ribeye for free. Plus, buy one, get one 50% off on Mercado pasta. And don't forget about lunch on Fired Up Friday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Locations at 84th and Havelock and 30th and Yankee Hill in Lincoln or 168th and Maple in Omaha. Get to the Mercado today for the best meat in town.
Unearth the secret to long-lasting tires at Tread's Central Tire Pros, a league apart in commitment, service, and expertise. This isn't just about rubber meeting the road, but trust, safety, and surety converging in perfect harmony. This is where expectations are exceeded every time. Make your appointment today at Tread's Central Tire Pros, just south of Cortland on Highway 77, or visit our website to explore our services. Remember, when it comes to tires, choose Tread's Central Tire Pros because we tread differently.
Problem gambling is not just a financial issue. It's an emotional problem with financial consequences. If your loved one is struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC. And we'd like to say thank you for a record-setting 2023. So let's start off 2024 with the bang. They've got huge trade-in bonuses and finance bonusing happening right now on our new inventory at Koppel. Get up to $8,500 off select new models at Koppel. So if you're shopping for a new GM product, go to our website at koppelcars.com. You won't believe the discounts. Make that short money-saving drive down 144th Street. You'll be glad you did. Must have trade and finance with roof credit. Stock number G207684.
No matter what indoor or outdoor project is on your list, check it off at the Nebraska Builders Home and Garden Show, February 9th through the 11th at Sandhills Global Event Center in Lincoln. Visit with vendors experienced in handling all your dream projects. Spend time viewing displays and exhibits to see the latest in home innovations. Admission is $10 or bring a non-perishable item for the food bank and get a $2 discount. Children 12 and under are free. For more information, visit the Home and Garden Show online at hbal.org.
Be a memory for your grandchildren. Among Nebraska adults age 65 or older, 47% report current alcohol use. Drinking too much can cause harm to children, family members, and loved ones. By drinking less, you will still be around for your grandchildren. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hello and welcome into the Daily Nebraskan show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. I'm Ben Droz, one of the sports writers at the Daily Nebraskan, and I'm joined here today by both assistant sports editors, Anthony Rubik and Marissa Cross. Guys, how are you doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, doing well. How about you?
You know, I'm doing pretty good. First show this week on a Monday, so a lot to recap from over the weekend. We're going to first start off with kind of the biggest game that was on Sunday, which was the men's basketball game against Illinois. Nebraska traveled to Illinois trying to get their first conference road win. Weren't quite able to get it done. Lost in overtime. It was just a tough loss for Nebraska. And what made it sting so much more for Husker fans was the fact that Nebraska was that close. And we'll touch on this more later, but there's been a lot of people saying that the refs were not on Nebraska's side. A lot of blaming for that. We can kind of touch on that later, but can I just get your opening thoughts of the game from both of you?
Yeah, like you said, just absolute tough loss. I mean, this was a game where it doesn't hurt Nebraska too bad, but a win there could have just maybe even made them a lock into the NCAA tournament field. It was a game where they really didn't look like a team that was struggling on the road. This was the best they've looked on the road the entire Big Ten conference slate. So them to just push Illinois to overtime, obviously down 10 late, make a comeback there, take the lead with 9 seconds left, then give up a foul, sends the game to overtime, not able to pick it up there. Just a devastating loss.
Yeah. Basically what Anthony said, it wasn't a horrible loss. It wasn't a blowout as some of their previous games have been. So there's, I guess, a little bit improvement there. But yeah, and a win to Illinois definitely would have put them, leaps and bounds forward. But I guess just going forward, there's just some things to improve, and hopefully one day we can get a road win.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been what, the proverbial hat on Nebraska's. They haven't been able to get that conference road win. They can't get over the hump. And I mean, I've heard this a lot, but I don't really want to reiterate it, but I'm going to. They just have to get one. Once they get one road win, no one's going to be talking about, oh, Nebraska can't win on the road. Like, no one will talk about it. I was not confident that Nebraska was going to win this game, and we could touch more on specifics, why Nebraska lost, stuff like that soon, but it was just, I mean, I was honestly, this game made me feel more confident about the Northwestern game coming up. Like, this was a good Illinois team, and Nebraska almost got it done.
Yeah. I mean, looking at this Illinois team, especially after how Wisconsin kind of fared this past week, Illinois is a team that I think rivals Purdue in that top spot in the Big Ten. I mean, they're just a great, well-rounded team. Guys like Marcus Domas, Terrence Shannon, Coleman Hawkins really had his way against Nebraska. You're right. I mean, this game really just gives me some confidence going forward. I mean, I've felt somewhat optimistic going into these two road games after the Wisconsin game, after the effort they put in, and their performance yesterday really just hammers that home for me. And you're also just going back how they just need one. Look at Northwestern. They're 1-5 conference away games,
and no one's talking about them.
Yeah, Michigan State 1-4 conference away games. It's really just that monkey on Nebraska's back.
Yep.
That they just need to shake off, and that could really just help them going forward. So yeah.
I mean, going specifically into the game, the reason this was a close game was Nebraska shot it pretty well, almost 43% from behind the arc, 42% overall. Nebraska was out-rebounded by 17. Illinois had 50 rebounds to Nebraska's 33. So, but I mean, that's expected. Nebraska gave up 17 offensive rebounds. That hurt. But the thing that made it close was Nebraska only had 9 turnovers.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the stat I'm going to look at every time. It's like, yes, we need to shoot the ball well. Nebraska needs to shoot the ball well. You got to try to get as many rebounds as you can, but you're an undersized team. You can only do so much. When Nebraska doesn't turn the ball over, they can beat anybody. Like, that's been the problem on the road, is that there's just so many like slip ups and mistakes. Gary was back. He was back the game before, but he was really back. It felt like this game, he had a pretty decent game, but it was just really nice to see that Nebraska was finally not getting in their own way with the turnovers.
Yeah, Nebraska won the turnover battle. 9 turnovers on the game for them, 14 for Illinois. And as they also were converting off those turnovers as well, scored 18 points off of them. So much improved effort on that end. And that really gives me optimism going forward, because you mentioned the rebounding. That's just what you're going to have to live with, I think, for Nebraska.
They're an undersized team.
Yeah, undersized team playing against these physical Big Ten teams. Illinois leads the Big Ten in not only rebounds per game, but also offensive rebounds a game.
I mean, you knew it was going to be tough for them.
Yeah. So obviously they were going to lose in that aspect. And then just the way that they were able to just perform keep up with all the other aspects of the game, the things that they could control, like turnovers, really, really kept them in this game, especially when they face these deficits. They faced numerous deficits, 6-point deficits, 7-point deficits. They were down 10 late. They were able to rally back from those with just some very confident play on the offensive end.
Yeah, I kind of want to touch on that more now. So Tominaga, after 3 dud games, had a pretty good game, 31 points. I mean, I feel like pretty good might be a little bit of an understatement. I was kind of frustrated early that Mass wasn't getting the ball more, but he picked it up in that second half. He finished with 22 points. I mean, the thing was, it's like, okay, Tominaga got going, Mass was good, but then there was no Wilcher.
Yeah,
There was no Wilcher.
that was surprising.
He only had 19 points, 1 of 6 from the field, only scored 2 points. Like, that was weird because Wilcher had been Nebraska's most consistent player on the offensive side over this last month, in my opinion. While Tominaga and Mass had like the big games, Wilcher was just every game consistent from the 3-point line. You know, I was kind of thinking he might get 6, he's like 6th man of the Big Ten. Like, that's what it feels like. So, but he didn't have a strong of a game. That kind of makes me feel why Nebraska kind of lost. Like, if I'm going into this, I mean, it was a close game on the road. Those are always hard to pull off. But, when you're looking at it, Nebraska didn't get as much bench production as they're used to. Gary chipped in 12 off the bench, but, they're used to Wilcher, having the 15, 17-point games, 20-point games off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, this was the first time Wilcher scored single digits since the Iowa game on January 12th. It was just...
That's a long time.
Long time ago. That was the game after the Purdue win. And, it was just very surprising, very uncharacteristic from him, especially just of how hot he's been as of late. Took a step back, especially in times where Nebraska really needed those points. But you also mentioned Keisei Tominaga looks to finally be back. I think he played, obviously a career high 31 points. It's obviously one of his best games as a Husker, but I think it was really up there with it just from what he did without scoring. He had 3 assists, which is a lot for his standards. Usually he's not known to be a guy who you give the ball to and pass the ball, but he really impressed me with his way to get people open, pass the ball to them. And it was just an overall great performance for him.
You can go, Marissa.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, I'll throw it to you. So one thing that's kind of been weird to me is that Jamarcus Lawrence has really been struggling for Nebraska, and yet Hoiberg seems like unwavering that he's like the starter. Like, at what point? No, I feel like Wilcher, like Hoiberg doesn't want to move him. He's really comfortable with what he's doing. But like, at what point does Gary start again, or do you bring Hoiberg? Like, I really like the minutes Hoiberg gets. He's just not getting that many. Marissa, I kind of want to throw this to you. Like, do you feel that Lawrence should still kind of be a starter for Nebraska? Do you feel like maybe they should be looking at, Gary, he's still coming off the injury, but maybe when he comes back, should he be inserted instead of Lawrence?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I would probably lean more to the side of maybe like you said about Gary still kind of coming back from injury, but maybe having him play a little bit more of a role. I think one of Nebraska's biggest issues so far, or kind of consistently the last couple of years, is that they don't really. There is some consistency, but it's not very much. Like one day, Torinaga will have a big day, or Mass will have a big day, but they don't really have a go-to guy that they know will, close out the game at the end. Just go off on a scoring run and that kind of thing. So I don't think it would, hurt to put Gary or another player in to see if that they can, play a little bit more of a supporting role than maybe Lawrence has.
Yeah, Lawrence, they kind of threw him into that point guard role. And he just I remember being really pleased with him last year as a freshman. It's just he hasn't been terrible.
It's a hard adjustment going from an off-ball guy who usually stands in the corner, kind of a 3-and-D type player, and now being kind of breaded into this primary ball handler, which obviously it's going to take him time to adjust. But looking at his minutes, he only played 15 minutes tonight, which is really the least out of anyone on the team. They had Kill Jacobson and Jeffrey Grace play, but those are strictly for fouls with guys in foul trouble. So, I can definitely see moving Gary into that starting spot. But if you are going to do that, you're going to have to ask a lot more from Bryce Williams and have him be a lot more just secure with the ball. He did good, obviously, only 1 turnover against Illinois. But, him and Lawrence are the 2 primary ball handlers for Nebraska. And then it's Rank Mass, which I don't know if I want Rank Mass carrying the ball up the court every possession. But, if you're putting Gary into the starting lineup, make sure Bryce Williams just controls his passes, because it seems like, at least especially in the first half of the Wisconsin game, he had some lazy passes. It's kind of his thing, but he'll just have to step it up on that end.
Yeah. I mean, I get Lawrence is like a good ball handler for us, but for Nebraska, but I mean, I feel like we need it. I feel like Nebraska needs it more off the bench, in my opinion. Like, when, like Bryce Williams, if you give him the keys, I feel like he's going to be good. Like, I wanted him to get the ball more. He's like Nebraska's only threat that can get to the rim, in my opinion. Like, I just can't, like, Alec kind of flashed it a little bit. Gary, maybe. Jamarcus Lawrence was, I mean, I feel like he's kind of just like a 3-and-D guy. He plays good defense, kind of sits on the 3-point line. He had, but you've seen he struggled in the point guard role. Why would you not? I mean, like, I feel like Gary's eventually going to get thrown in that starting role, and it's probably going to be Alec that gets bumped back down. That's my guess. But, like, man, I really want to see Hoiberg start. I do. I feel like he'd be the perfect complement because, like, they don't need, like, what they need is someone that can lead the offense when the starters come off. I feel like that could maybe be Lawrence's role instead of, like, kind of playing second fiddle to Bryce Williams and, like, it kind of being awkward. Like, I just feel like Nebraska doesn't know who they want to have be their primary ball handler because it's kind of like they don't really have a true point guard on the team. It's like, here's Bryce Williams, here's Lawrence. Like, somebody make something happen. It's just like, it just looks clunky at times, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of the risk that Fred Hoiberg took going into this season. Obviously, you had Aaron Eulis. Then he's been suspended or just out of games due to the gambling he did at Iowa. But it's hard to find. It's a tough thing to ask for a guy like Lawrence to do, especially with him. He never even played point guard in high school. Like, it was a completely new venture for him. But I can definitely see maybe trying Hoiberg out starting or Gary. But I do think if you're going to start Gary, probably move Alec to the bench because you need that guy off the bench. You need that forward off the bench.
Yeah,
we're talking about guards, but you still need that forward too. And that's where Gary has shined in the last 2 games off the bench. But Alec has also done so as well with Gary starting.
Well, I mean, let me throw this. I mean, is Hoiberg maybe going to keep Alec and Mass because of the rebounding issues? Do they feel like it's better if Alec and Mass are? I feel like Gary's just as like, I feel like Alec's probably a little bit better of a rebounder, but like Gary's a really good rebounder. I feel like Gary needs to start. Like, this is what I don't get. See, when coaches, it's like it's not who starts the game, it's who ends the game. But like, my thing is, well, if they're ending the game, why are they not starting the game so Nebraska doesn't get down early? Like, that's what
Sometimes you need that off the bench, though.
Well, I get it. That's what Wilcher is. I like Wilcher off the bench. It's like Nebraska's like at all times, they're like, oh, we want to always have like, 3 of our better players on the court. But then you have 2 guys that just like they shouldn't be starting, in my opinion. Like, Alec has been good. I'm not going to say he shouldn't start, but Gary, I feel like should start over him. Then Lawrence he has not been that good. Like, I get he's just a sophomore. I don't want
sophomore slump.
Yeah. I don't want to, dog on him. He was really good for Nebraska last year, but I feel like he'd be more comfortable if you bring him off the bench, in my opinion. And we have comments on the YouTube stream. It says 6-man is more important. And is Gary injured? No, Gary he's played the last 2 games. He's still recovering from the injury. He's probably not 100%, I would say. But then again, they played him really cautiously. I feel like he's like probably almost 100%.
I mean, last 2 games, he's played 33 minutes and 35 minutes. So,
I mean, like, yeah, I feel like he's ready. It's just, is Hoiberg ready to put him in the starting lineup? I think that's the thing. I think the problem was that, I don't think Hoiberg didn't want to start him first game back against Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So, and then, Nebraska beat Wisconsin. So then it's like, well, then why change the starting lineup? You just beat Wisconsin. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Gary start against Northwestern, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it's honestly this kind of talk right now. It's a good problem to have for Nebraska, having a guy this valuable coming off the bench and having a guy who's starting over him that really can do the same thing. It's really like Alec and Gary. It's not like you move one to the starting lineup, the other becomes a complete non-factor. It's just at the end of the day, you want to have your best guys starting in. Juwan Gary has just been great for Nebraska this year. Again, I think he's maybe the best rebounder. He had 11 rebounds against Illinois. I know there's guys
Yeah.
like Mass, but
He might be even better than
plays up.
Alec.
Yeah, he plays bigger than his height. I know Gary is 6'6", but he plays like he's 6'10", you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's why, like, I feel like a lot of the times Nebraska's always playing catch up. Like, not every game, but, you know, I feel like Nebraska's having to play catch up in a lot of these games. And it's just weird that, like, I get, like, you don't want to have, like, it's always nice to have that leader come off the bench. That's Wilcher. Like, don't touch Wilcher. Leave him where he is. But it's like, come on. Gary needs to be put in the starting lineup already. Lawrence doesn't look comfortable in his role. Like, that needs to be changed. But I want to go specifically more into the Illinois game. When the game was winding down, I first want to go to overtime. There was a lot of questionable calls. And all over my Twitter feed, all it was, he was Mass fouled on this last one, and it's the guy Query slapping him on the arm. Or when I forgot what it was, but when the Illinois guy came down with the rebound, and he pivoted six times. Like he's changed his pivot for 6 times. It's just it's calls like that was frustrating fans. Now, I don't feel like the refs have it out against Nebraska or anything. That's just conspiracy talk. But there was some bad calls that definitely did not help Nebraska. And I feel like that's kind of one of those things that it feels like the home team usually gets those calls more than the away team. That's just my feeling, though. What do you think?
Yeah, that's something that me and my roommate were actually talking about today about the game. Look back at the Nebraska-Wisconsin game and go on Twitter that night. You saw a lot of Wisconsin fans saying the refs were letting Nebraska tackle Wisconsin in the second half. The refs were just biased towards them. Yeah. Then look at the Illinois game the other night. Fans are saying that, Nebraska versus refs. I definitely think that, at least in Big Ten play, especially looking at how good teams are on the at home this year. I know Nebraska's 0-6 away. That's really a whole problem with the whole Big Ten. Mm-hmm. They're all struggling except for Purdue, and that's Purdue. So, yeah, I can definitely see refs kind of favoring the home team more. As for last night, was Mass fouled? Probably. I'm not saying that's the reason Nebraska lost. I don't like blaming games on refs.
Well, there's so many things that led up to that.
Yeah, did the refs get 50 rebounds to Nebraska's 33? No, Illinois did.
Yeah, Marissa, what are your thoughts on the refs and calls you saw towards the end of the game last night?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I was kind of watching the Grammys at the same time, so I don't think I could
Big
pick
night
apart
for Taylor Swift.
Yes, absolutely. So I don't think I could pick off every call or every detail, but I don't know. I definitely kind of just as a casual viewer, I did notice that there was a lot of ref calls, and like Anthony said, I don't really like to blame the ref or say that they lost just because of the refs. I think Nebraska definitely had their chances. I know there was a pretty big 3-pointer that Tominaga kind of missed at the end that kind of maybe would have at least tied it or changed the dynamic of the game. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think the refs had it out for Nebraska, but there may have been a questionable call or two, but it definitely wasn't why they lost.
It definitely didn't help. And that's why fans are so mad about it, because it's just it always, fans are, it's why is it always Nebraska? Why does this always happen to Nebraska? And, I think Husker fans just need to be happy with the fact that Nebraska didn't get smoked out of the water, that it was close. This was outside of the Wisconsin game on the road, this was their toughest road game. Maybe even tougher than that Wisconsin game. That, Sunday night's game looked like an NCAA tournament game. And that is why I am still confident that this is an NCAA tournament team. When I looked at the last bracketology on ESPN, Nebraska's currently a 10 seed. So they're kind of teetering on that edge. But I said before this 3-game stretch, just get 2. Okay? I knew the 2 that are most gettable were probably Wisconsin at home, because Nebraska seems to only be able to win at home, and then Northwestern on the road. The Northwestern on the road game, we're gonna try to preview that more tomorrow instead of today. But that Northwestern game is gonna be big. They're gonna that is the last true resume builder game left on Nebraska's schedule. And if they don't get it done, it's just a bunch of games that, like, yeah, if Nebraska wins out, it'll look really good. But, if you lose to Michigan on the road, it could get dicey really fast. And, the magic number always kind of seemed like 20 or 21. Like like when we get closer, we're kind of maybe predict how many wins they're going to get. What will it mean? Like, Nebraska's probably not going to be a first round exit, especially if, they stick top half of the Big Ten standings. They probably won't be a first round exit, but I always think, if they are a Big Ten for first round exit of the Big Ten tournament, will it be enough if they don't beat Northwestern?
Yeah, I think this Northwestern game, if they're able to pull this game off on the road and then they're able to just take care of business at home, I'd feel very confident even heading into the Big Ten tournament. Again, you obviously squander a quad 1 win opportunity against Illinois, but now you have another chance on Wednesday. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big game.
Yeah.
Nebraska is looking better on the road now. And against the Northwestern earlier in the year, they already have beat them once. It was a game a little too close for comfort, especially how Nebraska kind of collapsed the last half of the game, but they still got the win.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We had a text on the text line. It says, Big Ten has the worst officials in every league. It's embarrassing. I mean, honestly, I think that's the most frustrating thing. It's like, I feel like a lot of what I've seen from fans is that, it's not like they feel that Nebraska is being targeted or anything. It's just like overall, Big Ten refs are just not like, there's been a lot of questionable calls. And like, I'm not like a huge person that, like, oh man, refs are throwing games, like anything like that. But, when it's that many bad calls, it's just, it's egregious sometimes. And, they missed some big calls that could have probably swayed the difference of the game. But, we have to bring it to break. When we come back, we're going to get some women's basketball talk. Ben Beacom, one of our sports writers on the women's basketball beat's going to call in. He covered the game against Rutgers that they played on Saturday. So we're going to do that and more on the Daily Nebraskan show right here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com right after this.
Hi, it's Joel Norman, the voice of your Lincoln Stars hockey team. Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. to hear the latest on the Stars with myself, head coach Rocky Russo, and special player guests.
Delicious, decadent, scrumptious, delightful. What other words can I use to describe something so good I can't even tell it's healthy? How about heavenly? Chef Bob created heavenly waffles with an incredible fluffy recipe packed with protein and loaded with a plethora of angelic toppings to elevate the experience beyond the typical waffle and syrup. Don't just take our word for it. Join us for Heavenly Waffles Wednesday to experience heaven for yourself.
This Wednesday, February 7th from 8 to 11 a.m. at the 93.7 The Ticket Studios on the corner of 11th and O.
The captain, Vershawn Jackson.
Gilriola, the doctor, the Polynesian Bowl. He had a lot of throws. He made a couple nice throws. He threw outs. He threw a deep dig. He threw a slant that went to the house. There were so many different passes that we saw him, and he's got a little quick twitch. Is he fast? No. Quick twitch? Yes. It was good to see him moving around. Listen, he connected with, guess who?
Carter Nelson.
Thank you. We got a chance to see Carter twice. It was good for me to watch that because I think that's a precursor of what's the
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Gentlemen, Valentine's Day is just around the corner. Don't be that guy running to the store for flowers and a card on your way home.
Hey, Rick Heyman here from Sartor Heyman Jewelers. We have great Valentine's gifts in store now. And if you spend $99, we'll throw in a free bouquet of a dozen roses. Give her what she really wants this year and let us do the rest. Sartor Heyman Jewelers, your hometown jeweler since 1905 in Lincoln and Grand Island. Online at sartorheyman.com.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
The first and only African-American male to win the U.S. Open and Wimbledon, champion tennis player Arthur Ashe was denied entry to South Africa in 1969.
The law is the law and I cannot play. So I drive away from that with my coach, knowing that the only reason I could not play was because I was black.
We salute star athlete and fighter for justice, Arthur Ashe, during Black History Month.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hello and welcome back into the Daily Nebraskan show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Again, you can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, or Allo channel 961. And if you want to text into the show, the text line is open. The Sartor Heyman text line, 402-464-5685. But right now on the Owl VIP line, we have Ben Beecham, who covered the women's basketball game against Rutgers on Saturday. Ben, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
That's awesome. Glad you stayed up with us. You know, we did a lot of men's basketball talk first segment, so wanted to also get in the women's side of that. They had a tough, close road home loss against Rutgers. Barely weren't able to pull it out. Ben, can you kind of just give your overlying recap? What happened in the game? What didn't go right for Nebraska?
They just got dominated in the paint. Rutgers was able to get whatever they wanted. They were just getting through the perimeter defense, getting good shots at the rim. And I don't think it's an exaggeration to call this the worst loss of the Amy Williams era.
Maybe. Wow. Yeah, I mean, they've lost 3 out of the last 4, I believe, is what I last saw. I mean,
this was a Rutgers team that hadn't won a conference game yet.
Yeah, I mean, I know we can kind of touch on this later, but, you know, if this keeps coming up, is Amy Williams. I know she's got, who's the big recruit she got? Brett, is it Prince?
Britt Prince?
Yes, I couldn't think of her name. I know like she has a big recruit coming in, but it's like, how secure is her job? I mean, I don't want to bring it up, but you know, sometimes you got to when success isn't always there. But Anthony, I'll kind of throw it to you if you have a question for Ben.
Yeah. So the Rutgers game, it was a close first half. Then the second half, Rutgers outscored Nebraska 22-11. Nebraska was able to kind of flip that in the fourth quarter, 21-11, but obviously coming up 1 point short. What kind of happened there outside the break that kind of led Nebraska to struggle? And I guess how did they readjust and just respond to that adversity in the fourth quarter?
In the third quarter, they just couldn't buy a bucket. They shot 3 of 17 as a team. I mean, that's just not going to cut it in the Big Ten. They did start hitting some shots in that final quarter, 7 of 18, 3 of 7 from 3, but they came up short. They just couldn't stop Rutgers on defense when it mattered down in the stretch. And yeah, they forced a lot of turnovers on Rutgers just throughout the whole game, but couldn't get it done.
Yeah, kind of going along with that, they rallied from a 13-point fourth quarter deficit. What do you think kind of sparked that? And um, Markowski, I think, led the way with 13 points. But was there another notable player that you saw that kind of helped with that and was like an impact player in the game?
Off the bench, they had Kendall Moriarty and Logan Nisley both hitting some big threes. Really got the crowd into it towards the end. It got really loud in PBA in the final quarter. They got some good bench production, which they have had all year from freshmen.
Yeah. So you mentioned Moriarty, 8 points. She's really been on a roll as of late. The last 5 games, she's averaging 8.2 points per game. Seen a real increase in minutes for the first time since really early in the year. I know there's kind of been an opening on that starting lineup. Callan Hake has been in it as of late, but she's only scored 8 points the past 2 games where she's been starting. Do you think Moriarty can kind of regain that spot in the starting lineup going forward?
Yeah, they've really been mixing around with that fifth person. They started the year. I think Callan Hake was in it at the start of the year, and then Maddie Cruel, when she returned, stepped in. But Callan Hake, after a big game against Iowa, stepped in, took that role. So I wouldn't be surprised after that big loss if they try to put in Moriarty or Logan Nisley, who have been great sparks off the bench. Jess Petrie also gave good 20 minutes. She had 9 points. She could slip into that fifth spot.
Yeah, and next week they're obviously headed to Michigan for a road game, and yeah, last time I checked, they're 6-5 in the conference. So, what do you think Nebraska needs to fix, or really need to work on this week to beat the Wolverines?
Yeah, they really just need to work on shooting. I mean, it sounds simple, but 23 of 68. The starters shot 12 of 48 against Rutgers. They just really need to just get in a rhythm to start the game. They got out of rhythm a lot against Rutgers. They found a rhythm against Michigan at home, but we'll see if they'll be able to do that on the road in Ann Arbor.
I want to get the next line in here because we had a text that said, that is a stupid statement. Her job is not in jeopardy. Come on, get serious. Okay. So I want to address this because, I don't feel attacked, but I just wanted to bring it up because I'm not saying she should be fired at all because she has Brett Prince coming in. But I'm just saying last year, this was a ranked team in the preseason. Things went downhill pretty quickly for that team. They made a WNIT win or run. It was nice to end the year, but they didn't live up to expectations. Now this year, I know this is just short sample size early, recently, but you've lost 3 out of your last 4 games. And this Rutgers loss, this was bad. Okay. So I'm not saying she's going to get fired, but I'm just saying if this team doesn't get going this year and then she doesn't have success, with Prince coming in, I'm just saying it's not out of the question for us to start question. I mean, every time we have a chance to throw Hoiberg under the bus, we do. And then when it comes to women's basketball, it's just people are afraid to, they don't throw her name under the bus in the same way. Anthony, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's kind of not the same really story. I mean, Fred Hoiberg, he's been a guy who has, for his first few years at Nebraska, has pretty much had a completely different team every year.
Yes.
Filled with transfers that for a long time didn't pan out. And Nebraska fans were a little upset with that. Go back with the coach before that, Tim Miles. Nebraska was a team that was on the bubble of the NCAA tournament in 2017, 2018. Started the next season ranked. Didn't have the best year, ended up making that IT tournament, and Nebraska fired Tim Miles. So
that's what I'm saying. At what point is, not are we just going to have not making the NCAA tournament, not winning a round? And is that just going to be the norm? I'm just asking, what are our expectations?
Amy Williams still in her time has led Nebraska to 2 NCAA tournaments. I know probably could have made it to more. Last year, they had high expectations, underwhelming year. Former Big Ten Coach of the Year. I think this season's definitely not the season to fire her if Nebraska underperforms, but maybe going forward.
I'm just saying that don't get mad at me that I'm asking about the security of her job. That's what I'm saying, because it's not out of the question that, if they don't have success, I mean, this year is one of the toughest years, I feel like, for Williams in her Nebraska career so far as the coach. I mean, you have a big transfer coming in. If you don't get it done, I'm just saying, like, this is college basketball. This isn't high school where, we give you a pound back and say, oh, well, you're trying. You get paid to win games, and NCAA tournament game wins is what it's happening. Hoiberg, this is the best Nebraska's looked in 20, 30 years. There's people that are saying he should be fired after the Maryland game. like that. See, that's what I don't get, because Hoiberg finally has this team playing the best that maybe Nebraska's ever seen, and yet there's still people that think that he should have been fired after that game. But then Amy Williams, oh man, don't do that. Like, I'm not trying to start a controversy. I'm just saying I don't get the difference in that.
What do you think, Ben? Obviously, following Nebraska women's basketball all year, you've seen some Nebraska wins, you've seen some losses like Saturday. What are your thoughts on Amy Williams' job so far?
I mean, it's year 8. It's not crazy to say that her job's in jeopardy. I wouldn't say it'd be this year, but if this continues next year, I could see that. This year, they obviously lost Widener before the season started.
Yes, I get that.
She's a big player.
Yeah.
She's big for this team. But I mean, only 2 NCAA tournament appearances, no wins. It's not crazy to say that her job's in jeopardy.
No, like I'm not calling for her to be fired. Like that, like that's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying that, when you don't have success for multiple years, it's gonna happen. It's just, this is college basketball. Nebraska with football with Bo Pelini, it was like, okay, we were making bowl games, getting 9 to 10 wins. It wasn't good enough. I get that's Husker football and that they were national championship. It seems like every year they were in the contenders in the 90s, but like this should apply for all sports, especially women's basketball that has a pretty big market. I mean, I'm just saying, like, this isn't like, some of the smaller sports in Nebraska that don't get that much traction, where like, they kind of just keep the same coach in because they want to keep that culture. But like, this is women's basketball. It actually brings in a decent amount of revenue for Nebraska. It's not out of the question to say this team needs to start getting success and fast. But Ben, I think that's all the time we got for you. I want to thank you for coming in on the show. Definitely have to have you call in again. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Yep, that was Ben Beecham on the Allo VIP line. Before we go to break, because we had a person on the YouTube stream that was really want to talk about it. We're going to talk about it now. Grammys. Okay. I know we're differentiating away from the sports talk, but
maybe that's good.
But yeah, because we've been talking about sports for 40 minutes. So I did not watch the Grammys, but I did see the results. Marissa was kind of watching the Grammys. Marissa, I'm going to let you kind of, take this away, because I feel like you have stronger opinions on this than me.
Yeah. I mean, there was so many stories from last night. I mean, I know there's a lot of hate on Taylor Swift right now, and I don't want this to be like Taylor Swift show or anything, because I know that's a turnoff, but she did have a big night at the Grammys. She won her 4th album of the year, which makes her the only artist in history to win 4 albums of the year. So that was a pretty big night for her, and she also announced her new album that's going to be coming out in April.
I did see that.
Yeah, so that was pretty surprising. I think a lot of her fan base thought that she was going to announce Reputation, Taylor's version, but she came out with a new album instead. So that's exciting. It's called I always mess this up. The Tortured Poets Department. I always want to call it the Dead Poet Society, but yeah, that's what it is. So yeah, she had a big night. She also won Pop Vocal Album of the Year. So that was really exciting. Miley Cyrus won her first Grammy. That was pretty big.
That surprised me. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not a huge music person, but like, wasn't Miley Cyrus, like, she was Hannah Montana? Like, I'm not wrong there, right? Like, how, like, that's how she became famous. Like, how is it just now that's happening? I guess she had like the really Flowers. That was a really big song.
Yeah.
She had a really good album, but like, really, this was the first one?
I know. I was surprised by that too. But yeah, that was really exciting though for her Flowers to win.
2
times actually.
Say she got her flowers.
She got her flowers. There you go, Anthony.
She had to make a song about flowers to get her flowers.
Yeah, and she got to perform the song too.
Yeah.
And so that was also a pretty big moment. And Mariah Carey presented that award with her, so that was kind of a moment between them. Billy Joel performed, and he's going to release a new single.
Ooh, I did not know that.
Yeah, that's pretty big for Billy Joel fans out there. I believe the song is "Turn the Lights Back On," and so that's pretty cool to see him coming out with new music. Oh gosh, what else happened? Joni Mitchell performed. Not too familiar with her as much, but I know she's pretty historic in the music world. Tracy Chapman also performed with Luke Combs.
That was really
Fast
cool.
Car. Yeah.
Really cool moment there.
We
Yeah,
had a
for sure.
YouTube comment said Travis Scott was robbed. Do you want to touch on that? Because I don't really know how he was robbed. I didn't watch it, so I'm curious. Was he robbed?
So the big thing here is like Killer Mike won, which he's a guy who.
Now here's a guy.
Sorry. People in this real like college demographic and even like 20s, 30s, they don't really know who he is. He makes music that he's one of the guys who's been in the game for a long time. He's like when you hear these old heads talk about like, oh, real rap, that's what kind of Killer Mike is. Me personally, I would have liked to see Metro Boomin win for rap album of the year. I think that was the best rap album that year. I thought it was better than Utopia, but
yeah, that's the only rapper out of all those that I even have like any of his songs in my playlist from this last album. But yeah, we had a YouTube commenter that was really not happy that Travis Scott was robbed. So I thought I'd bring that up. But we better throw it to break. When we come back, we're gonna get some Olympic sports talk going with Husker Sports. Gonna kind of recap the weekend with how tennis did, swim and dive, golf, wrestling, all of that and more. It's coming right here on the Daily Nebraskan Show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Alcohol has strained our relationship. Drinking too much can cause harm to friends, family members, and loved ones. By drinking less, we will save our relationship. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
How is your drive to school?
Let me tell you, I had to get my iced coffee first. I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone was buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then someone started calling me and...
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Attention all Wings fans! 89-cent wings are back on Tuesdays at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Lincoln. Enjoy the best wings in town for boneless or traditional at a price that makes the whole family happy. And now at the Williamsburg Village Wings and Rings, you can enjoy $1.50 tall boys in Bud Light, Coors Light, Busch Light, and Michelob Ultra every day after 7 p.m. and all day on Sundays. Get to Wings and Rings today and make sure to stop by on Tuesdays for 89-cent wings.
I believe every child can succeed. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. Research shows that children do a better job in school when parents are supportive. In Nebraska, parents have a long tradition of being involved in our public schools. That's one reason our students consistently score in the top 10 on national tests. Working together, we can help every child succeed.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is how we do every day. We be grinding, and if you wanna come and test us,
if you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music,
this is Mommy's jam.
then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. And Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
A smoke-free environment is the only way to fully protect from the dangers of secondhand smoke. That's why smoke-free policies are so important to me. Whether it's in my car, apartment building, or when I'm dining outdoors, there's no place for secondhand smoke or e-cigarette aerosol. Breathe easier knowing the facts. Visit smokefree.ne.gov. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Happy Hour.
Husker softball in all preseason polls. In the 4 polls, 13th, 15th, 17th, and 18th. USA Softball is part of that. Softball America is one of them as well. D1 Softball.
Top 20 as a team, and they have at least 2 players in every top 50, top 100 poll, with Jordy Ball being anywhere from second. Honestly, I think third was her lowest ranking in some of those. And Billy Andrews, usually it's those 2. There was one that had Kate Kaneda.
Weekdays from 1 to 2 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Back to The Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hello and welcome back into the Daily Nebraskan show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. We have one last segment. It's only going to be like 5 minutes, but we're still going to do it. I'm going to throw it to Marissa because I'm going to let her lead the segment off.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. So Wednesday is National Girls and Women's Sports Day. This is kind of exciting. It's been around, this is the 38th annual National Girls and Women's in Sports Day. So it's just to celebrate women athletics, women's in sport. There's a lot of big things happening in female athletics lately. So it's just to celebrate all of that. And so on Wednesday, the Husker Athletic Department is actually hosting an event at the Hawks Championship Center, celebrating this day. And so they're inviting people from the community of all ages to come and hang out with just some of the female athletes. There's going to be some activities and stuff. I'll be there to cover it, and we'll probably write an article, some sort of column about it. So that starts at 6. So if anyone out there is interested in coming there, but yeah, it's just a pretty significant day just to because women's athletics hasn't always been celebrated, and so it's kind of meant to inspire girls, women to continue to play sports and be active, and just from the Women's Sports Foundation to realize their full power, confidence, strength, and character gained through sports participation. So I think this event on Wednesday is really cool. I think this is the first time that they're doing it, so I'm really excited to see what it's like and see kids and in the community connecting with the athletes here.
Yeah, I mean, it's real. I mean, this has kind of always been my thing with that, which is if you give women's sports the platform, it'll the fans will show up. It's when you're not promoting it when it doesn't happen, and we saw that 92,000 fans went to watch a volleyball game. There are people that will watch it. It's when you are putting it on ESPN U2 or whatever it is, or you're not even putting it on national TV at all. It's just then people aren't going to watch it. I get that, volleyball is never going to be as popular as football. I mean, football seems like America's sport, but there are fans that want to watch this. So it's just really cool. Want to give platforms to all these sports. And speaking of that, we're going to kind of get into some Olympic sports talk. First one I want to touch on is the swimming and diving team. They beat Rutgers they were here in Nebraska, at Nebraska home on Friday, beat Rutgers 240-113. Pretty easy win there for Nebraska. And as I keep going, Rifle they competed against 5 teams over the weekend. That was really weird. They competed against Ohio State, TCU, UTEP, Alaska, Fairbanks, and Air Force, and all neutral site, but they played against all of them. They went 2-3 during that stretch. So not bad. Pretty good for Rifle. I'm kind of excited when they get to the NCAA championships. OC's been really good for them, and I profiled on her earlier, so I'm always kind of following her a little bit. Men's gymnastics, won a close game. They were ranked number 3 in the nation, beat number 8 Penn State 407-403. Close game. I know Sam Phillips was really excited after they won that game. He had a bunch of cool celebrations. So go on the gymnastics social media. You'll probably see some of the celebrations on there. He was talking about it here on Flipping It on Sunday. It was really fun to listen to him. Make sure to go check that out. Men's tennis lost 7-0 against Baylor. It was at Baylor on Saturday. Women's tennis, though, beat Illinois State 6-1. So that was a pretty big one. Women's gymnastics barely pulled out the win over Iowa 197-196. So that's, so it always feels good to beat Iowa as a Husker fan. It doesn't matter what sport. Husker fans, I know, do not like Iowa. And then for wrestling, Nebraska, while Huskers didn't get the basketball win over Illinois, wrestling took care of business against Illinois 28-9.
Yeah, again, Nebraska wrestling continues to just be one of the top teams in the country. Obviously, the Big Ten as a whole is just outstanding. Nebraska, Iowa, Penn State, Wisconsin's up there. So yeah, that was just a great meet. Check out Sean Rogers' recap of it on the Daily Nebraskan website. He's really kind of the Swiss Army knife. He was reporting on it and taking pictures for multimedia. So shout out to him. And yeah, it was just a lot of intriguing bouts. Antrell Taylor got a win in overtime. Great ending in that. And then, of course, Nas Hutmacher picks up another win.
He has been awesome. Like, I love it when the Husker football social media is always posting the wrestling stuff. And I feel like it's giving wrestling more attention because, there's more people posting about it and talking about it because Hutmacher's on there. But that's all the time we have here for the Daily Nebraskan show. Again, I'm Ben. I was joined here by Anthony and Marissa. Tomorrow, we're going to have the senior sports editor from the Daily Nebraskan, Joseph Meyer, on here with me. We're going to preview Nebraska men's basketball game against Northwestern, and then also recap the women's game that's going on tomorrow against Michigan, I believe. So that's going to be coming on tomorrow, so make sure you tune into that. But till then, we're out of here. Peace.
See ya.
The captain for Sean Jackson.
Dylan Riola, the doctor, the Polynesian Bowl. He had a lot of throws. He made a couple nice throws. He threw outs. He threw a deep dig. He threw a slant that went to the house. There were so many different passes that we saw him. And he's got a little quick twitch. Is he fast? No. Quick twitch.